Hello everyone, and how's it going? This is M.L.S, and welcome back to our weekly video where we look at book covers, explain why I think they are exceptional, and maybe a few reasons they aren't so great, and then I allow you guys to vote. Speaking of voting, the April book cover of the month is still wrapping up. I won't be able to name a winner in this podcast, in this episode, but I will be able to announce the winner next week. But the voting ended. I'm a few weeks ahead as I record this. So we'll announce that winner a little later, and we're moving along in the month of May. I am your humble host, M.L.S, and I am a self-published author and an instructor in graphic design, writing, photography, and videography. And so this is just my little way of having a chance to sit down and talk about design and books and writing and wrap all my favorite things together. So if you like this video, do me a favor, click the like button, subscribe, click the notification bell. And if you're really feeling generous, head on down to my author link and look at my books on Amazon and see if you'd like to give me a try. My newest book, Betrayed, is out. It just came out April 30th, I believe. And I'm super excited about it, and I hope you'll decide to give it a try too. But before I get too wrapped up in it, let's talk about the winner for the for the last contest, and that would be The Sunfire King by Sylvia Mercedes. So I was always of two minds about this book. Every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's so great. And then I look at it and I think, oh, that's so busy. But we had 5 people voting this time around, and the color is great. The detail is outstanding. The light is really interesting. So congratulations to the Sunfire King, and best of luck to that book in the May book cover of the month, which will be up and running after we finish naming the winners. So now we're moving on into week 3, and we're going to talk about those covers. And the first cover we're going to talk about is Justice of the Winter Witch by D.L. Howard. So this book, this cover, the font is interesting. It's well organized in that it's grouped together. There's this concept called grouping, where if you put things together in a certain manner, they're going to feel like they belong together more. So sometimes when you're working with text, if you don't have that text where it needs to go, or that text feels kind of all over the place, it can really kind of start to feel off. The color of this cover deserves merit. I'm not the biggest fan of the light in this particular book. I wish that they did a couple different things. There's a artistic design. Maybe this magic system is based on, drawing signs in the air. And I just wish that the light communicated more, and the light on the actual person was a little better executed. But the color, the grouping, the composition of the image, it still deserves a little bit of recognition. So if you like it, vote for it in the link down below. The next cover we're going to look at is The Last Resurrectionist by Jack Hartford. And so I'm going to bring this image up, and it's a very small file size. But as I look at this one, I just can't get over how beautifully simplistic this cover is. I'm not saying it's the greatest cover in the history of mankind. All I'm saying is it's got nice contrast. It's an interesting version of the silhouette. It uses a concept called figure ground and somewhat on the nose way in this regard. I love the detail in the hand. I like the spot color, the green. It, as impressive as it is in its simplicity, is not super interesting. So if you're not a fan of it, I can understand. I just really, really like how clean and simple this design is. And a lot of great book covers do that. I'm not the biggest fan of the red as the author text. For starters, I'm red-green colorblind. So if you're going to put something in red font on a black background, I'm going to have trouble reading it. And I'm not unique in this. So I just kind of want to let people know that you need to be careful when you choose your font colors, and you want to be careful, especially with your author text, because that goes into your branding and all this other stuff that I'm still trying to figure out myself. But when you look at this clean, simplistic, communicative message, I can't help but acknowledge what it does well. The next book cover we're going to talk about is A Hag Rises from the Abyss, and maybe I'm just in a minimalist mood. This is a book by Douglas Lumsden, and again, here we have this very simple area. What really stands out are a couple things. The composition really stands out. You got figure, silhouette, figure, couch. You got good spot color, red couch, black and white design. The author text leaves a little to desire because it's just kind of thrown in up there at the top right corner, and it feels a little odd. I really love the spot color in the eyes and the shadow. So all of this is just super interesting, using the shadows to play. But the thing that really kind of caught my eye is I constantly talk about how people use text, and it's very common for people to just slap a title text on front of beautiful art. It's another thing entirely. You reach another level when your title text becomes a part of your design. And what they did here is they shifted and moved the text to create depth and dimension, and to also lead it into these figures. So it goes from the figure in the wedding dress and it leads to the individual sitting on the couch. And that's just really, really good, clever design. If I'm moving it, currently the text is aligned at the top of the white door, and that makes sense. I wonder if they looked at what it would look like if the text aligned with the bottom of the couch. I don't know if they gave that a few shots. And I already mentioned the author text, but just for its composition, its bulletproof composition, and the way that they align this text and use this text so that it becomes a part of the overall product, just rises this up above a whole lot of other covers. Again, it is very simplistic. It's not very impressive. It's not very detailed in those regards. But I don't want that to come off like it's not good. I can understand it if you don't vote for this cover. I just have to acknowledge how it does some things well. And what I hope you guys do with this is that, obviously I want you to watch it and enjoy it. But my hope is, as you're looking at covers or considering who you're going to hire for cover, or you're an artist trying to design covers, adding these elements that stand out together to create an even better cover is something that I hope will help you. So we got a few more of these to look at. The next one we're going to look at is Solar Warden, and that's a book by Peter Fuller. I'm going to bring it up here. Solar Warden by Peter Fuller. Look, it's silhouette. There's great detail in the imagery. I like the color, really, is what gained my attention. This blend from maybe red to yellow, and the use of that warm color palette really does a lot for me as an individual. Silhouettes are always something I enjoy. I like how the light wraps around this alien looking figure. I mentioned in a previous video, I don't really like it when people overlap. There's a part of me that just wants to move that guy like an inch to the left so that I can see all of his tail and they feel like they belong. But they're not overlapping so much that I can't see one for the other. So I can admit how much it really just drives me nuts that the tip of this creature's tail is behind. If you tell me you did it to create layering, I'll believe you. But it's kind of hit and miss in that regard. The color's great. The font makes sense. The figures have great detail and they look awesome. It's a very interesting pose with the gun. But I don't know if the designer or the author really understands weapons handling or that kind of thing. Maybe she's jumping back. But when you're designing a cover, it has to be more of a general idea than literal interpretation. So this is a solid cover, but it's most interesting because of its cover and composition. The next cover we're going to talk about stands out because of a concept called spot color. So this is Hunt by Serenity Rain. And when you have a monochromatic scene where it's like all white or all black or all gray or something like that, adding a splash of color yanks the eye toward that spot. So this deep blood red gown, this deep blood red gown this author is this character is wearing really separates itself from the background and creates this pleasing arrangement. We got a little power coming from the hands. And in terms of things I'm not so hot on, the font makes a kind of sense. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. And it's driving me nuts that there are two branches coming out of the character's head in the background. I wish the background was maybe someone goes in there with an effect and blurs it up a little bit. Or maybe there's just not a tree behind the subject. But it's a little off-putting that is coming out of there. So on first glance, I'm like, are those like the weirdest horns ever or not? It just happens sometimes. But that spot color and the arrangement of your text elements, all those are pretty well done. So it's not bad overall. So the next one we're going to talk about is called Spread of Extinction. And this is by two authors, Tara Ellis and Mike Cross. So I'm not in love with how it feels, kind of like these figures were like copied out of one photo and pasted another. In my line of work, we call that a clean select. It's not horribly done. But it feels weird because those figures don't look like they belong in that scene. And interestingly enough, the thing I think stands out most about this is the scene. You have this big apocalyptic scene, and it's interesting to look at. The color is nice. It fits the tone of a post-apocalypse book. And I also like the title text and how they weave that information together, creates layering. It makes the text a part of the overall product. So it's not bad. Last book we're going to talk about this week is Ashes in Winter. And this is just all about nice, solid composition. It's not the most stunning cover I've ever seen, but we have the figure riding a horse. And what I really like is this little baby horse, this colt or whatever you want to call it, how it has its own space. It would have been too easy to move this guy and draw him right over top of the other element. But I love it when a book cover has elements that all stand on their own. This artist and designer also did a good job of trying to make the text a part of a visual element. They tilted a little bit, and they leaned it a little bit, and it's good effort. It doesn't really come off for me, but it sets a tone. The monochromatic scene sets a tone. It's very clearly a Westernish kind of futuristic setting. Maybe the individual watching this is a fan of Westworld. That might make a kind of sense. But ultimately, when elements in a design are that well arranged with that much detail and attention to making sure everything has its own space, it's always worthy of note when that happens. So those are the 7 covers for this week. Please don't forget to click the notification bell and the subscribe button if you enjoy this. If you have any other questions or you have different opinions on some of the visual elements in the covers I discussed, feel free to pop a comment down below. And if you don't have any questions, just stop on by next week. Just don't forget to vote for your favorite out of these 7, because the winner always moves on to a monthly contest after we do 4 covers for a month. So congratulations on last week's winner. I hope to see you next week, and God be with you.